Greetings, fellow lore-seekers. Join me for a blazing journey through the history and divine structure of Amaunator, the yellow god of law, order, and the sun in the Forgotten Realms. His saga weaves together the rise and fall of empires, the rigidity of cosmic bureaucracy, and the intertwined mythologies of Faerûn's greatest divine powers. Amaunator reached his zenith in ancient Netheril, revered as the keeper of the sun, judge of the Pantheon contour, and light of the law. He was a greater deity whose authority shaped both mortal and divine agreements, establishing a foundation upon which Netheril's culture and power depended. Amaunator was singular among gods for his devotion to human-devised law and structure. His sphere included not only the sun's might, rulership, and order, but also contracts, right down to the most obsessive stipulations. Famously, a legal mispunctuation in divine paperwork technically made him god of time, though he refrained from encroaching on Mistril's role to avoid conflict. His avatar embodied this judicial essence, a short, silver-haired man alight with golden radiance, garbed in magistrate's robes, always bearing the scepter of the eternal sun, and an imposing legal tome. His arrival heralded unyielding judgment, much to the awe of mortals, and sometimes other gods. Amaunator's power over light and order made him a bane of all darkness. He dispelled magical shadow effortlessly, could annihilate undead vulnerable to sunlight by touch, and manifest overwhelming radiance. His gaze alone exposed liars and lawbreakers, and every 2 hours he could flood lands with nourishing sunlight for miles. Yet for all his beneficence, Amaunator was a stern, sometimes unyielding presence. He prioritized the letter of the law above mercy or compassion, and this rigid fidelity often had dire consequences. When Netheril faced destruction, Amaunator did nothing, abiding by the divine contracts that forbade him interference. His dogma made no room for ambiguity. The law is the sun around which civilization must revolve, and even gods are subject to its dictates. These ideas were embodied by his faithful, the Amaunatori, who served not only as priests, but as bureaucrats, magistrates, and legal witnesses. Their official stamp, or Amaunator's sun disk, lending divine legitimacy to every contract signed in his name. Amaunator's iconography captured his solar authority. Gold suns, often with human faces, radiant animals such as sun falcons and white stallions, and plants like golden lilies and sunflowers. His favor was a visible, tangible presence, whether as a spectral woman with golden scales or as the sudden arrival of his feared hyena enforcers when justice was demanded. His divine realm, the keep of the eternal sun, once shone in Mechanus, plane of ultimate order. After the fall of Netheril and the loss of worshippers, this realm dissolved, with his power fading to dead god status. Upon his resurrection, Amaunator's domain became the eternal sun, an astral stronghold shared with Cymorphy and Joaquin, exemplifying his legalistic and mercantile sphere. Amaunator's clergy functioned as the architects of civilization's structure. Law, hierarchy, and punctuality were virtues. Disobedience or neglect risked not only personal ruin, but the breakdown of society itself. Rituals centered on renewal, Thanksgiving at the summer solstice, and the Pantheon contour, an annual celebration of the divine contract among gods. It was Netheril's fall, and Amaunator's contractual inaction, that precipitated his faith's decline. Followers abandoned him, the faith splintered or retreated into secrecy, and Amaunator was eventually forgotten by most. However, his worship persisted in altered forms, scattered across Faerûn's changing religious landscape. Here, the story becomes more intricate. Some Netherese survivors brought tales of their sun god to the Bedine, whose oral traditions distorted Amaunator into Attar the Merciless, a harsh and distant sun goddess, now far removed from his original character. The faith's magical connection withered, producing no clerics nor divine intervention. True Amaunator worship did survive in one fractured form, aided by the unique Forgotten Realms concept of dead power, a god sustained by residual belief, and servants of the fallen, whose spellcasting attested to Amaunator's lingering presence. But the largest surge of belief occurred within heretical movements inside the Church of Lathander, the so-called Morning Lord. Now, Lathander, as Faerûn's god of dawn, renewal, and youth, shared much of Amaunator's solar symbolism, but espoused a more optimistic, creative ethos. In the centuries after Amaunator's decline, debates raged whether Lathander was Amaunator reincarnated or a separate entity altogether. The risen sun heresy emerged from this uncertainty. Led by visionaries like Delagoth Orndir, it asserted that Lathander was Amaunator reborn, awaiting an inevitable transformation back to his mature, law-bound form. This belief was fueled by miraculous events, unique sun-based spells, and forceful rhetoric that saw many drawn away from Lathander's gentler dogma. The three-faced sun heresy offers a more nuanced cosmological framework. According to this teaching, the sun is an overgod with two worshipable aspects at a time. Initially, Amaunator as High Sun and Jurgal as Dusk in the Netherese era, then shifting in later ages to Lathander as Dawn and Merkul as Dusk. Some devotees of this heresy looked forward to Amaunator's return, expecting him to reclaim one of these cosmic solar roles. Importantly, this system does not posit Lathander and Jurgal coexisting with Amaunator, but rather envisions changing divine shifts, with periods in which Amaunator or Lathander or others fill the solar mantle. Such heresies flourished especially during transitional epochs, reflecting on Faerûn's ever-evolving pantheon and deep anxieties about cosmic order. These doctrinal divides had real consequences for the faithful. The Brotherhood of the Glorious Sun, a sect within Lathander's church, advocated openly for Amaunator's return. Sun Masters, Sun Lords, and monastic abbots formed a hierarchical priesthood focused on law, order, and the meticulously observed rituals of Amaunator. As the spell plate struck and divine realms reshaped, Amaunator resurfaced after centuries of obscurity. He reasserted his identity in the Faerûnian Pantheon, sometimes as a refound independent deity, sometimes as Lathander's mature aspect, depending on region and tradition. He reclaimed major domains, first law, order, and rulership. Then, in the 4th and 5th editions, light and life, more closely aligning him with the needs of commoners and ruling classes alike. The revived faith operated under the strictest hierarchy. Sunlord priests led the organization, followed by monastic and legal officials. Ceremonial garb of vivid red, orange, and yellow sun motifs, with holy symbols in gold and precious gems, distinguished Amaunator's clergy from Lathanderite peers. Powerful spells, such as Amaunator's Eternal Sun, an epic incantation creating a second sun, reinforced their unique divine authority. Legalistic spellcasting became a signature. Spells that regulated light, enforced order, and even manipulated time fell within the church's specialized purview. These included signature magics such as Sunburst, Order's Wrath, Augury, and Time Stop, reserved for initiates of deep doctrine and trust. The ruling hierarchy, originating from Netheril's days, maintained rigid discipline. Sunmaster adjudicators and legal mediators resolved disputes, witnessed contracts, and recorded all proceedings. They also actively sought new converts, justified their faith's supremacy, and sometimes clashed with rival faiths, most notably the churches of Shah and Horus Re. Everyday worshippers prayed to Amaunator for sunlight, guidance in contracts, and the endurance of order. After the Second Sundering, it became tradition to invoke Amaunator's name when sealing oaths, or to delay business until the sun shone bright as an auspicious sign. His cultural influence thus persists even outside formal worship. Amaunator's holy places can be found across Faerûn, from the forested enclave in ancient Netheril, through secret societies beneath Afkatla, to shrines in remote Bryn Shander or prominent towers in Daggerford. Each maintains an unbroken chain of legal and liturgical tradition, linking it to the lawgivers of the ancient past. Factions like the most transcendent affiliation of paradisiacal pens, a scribal order, work to compile and spread legal doctrine, while martial sects like the Syndicate of Celestial and Righteous Lawmakers enforced Amaunator's will. The Brotherhood of the Sun, rooted in monastic discipline, prefigured later Paladin and Sun Soul traditions. Amaunator's creed stresses that law is the foundation of peace, prosperity, and civilization. He taught that injustice cannot be left unchallenged. His infamous 13 hyenas delivered retribution upon those beyond mortal law's reach. This relentless insistence on order, though often criticized as tyrannical, is credited in law with enabling the ascendancy of great civilizations and ruling dynasties. Despite frequent confusion over his true nature and relationship with Lathander, Amaunator's core message endures. Civilization must aspire to the consistency and clarity of the sun's rising. In times of uncertainty or troubled rule, Amaunator's rituals, laws, and imagery offer hope for justice and stability. Amaunator's cultural footprint extends even to the stars, with Amaunator's belt, a constellation visible during summer in northern Faerûn, serving as a celestial reminder of his vigilance. Farmers, lawmakers, rulers, and anyone seeking order invoke his name to safeguard agreements and prosperity. In summary, Amaunator's influence radiates not just from his solar might, but from his divine assurance that law binds all things, gods included. Whether worshipped as the keeper of the eternal sun, the judge of the gods, or the harbinger of renewed order, Amaunator's unyielding presence remains a pillar of Dungeons & Dragons lore. From the heights of Netheril to the momentous returns of the modern realms, Amaunator's story is ultimately a testament to the enduring power and potential peril of order. His light may be harsh, but it remains as essential and unyielding as the sun itself.